All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. One of the things that happens a lot on this show is that, I like to talk to different artists and then get introduced to new music and then talk to new people who haven't been on the show before. But I also like kind of catching up with past guests. And that often means that, since I've been doing this as long as I have been, a lot of times people will come on again and again and again. And it's always kind of interesting to sort of track the progress from maybe the first appearance of someone like that to now. And the guest on this episode is someone who has been on, I think this is the fourth appearance, maybe fifth, dating back to like 2017 or so, I think. And so, I mean, things have obviously come a long way since then. I don't really think I need you to introduce yourself, but I'm going to make you do it anyway, because that's sort of the format of the show. So if you want to introduce yourself and give a bit of background about what it is you do in the local music scene, that would be awesome.
For sure. I'm Ed Durocher. I'm the guitarist and band leader of 10-piece psychedelic jazz funk band Apollo Suns. We've been around since 2016, okay, and I've been touring heavily since 2017.
Although that was disrupted, as everyone's lives were disrupted by the pandemic. And I think that last time I had you on the show, that was kind of a big topic of discussion about how you had all these plans that just sort of fell through completely. And just from watching your social media, it seems like you're now kind of back on the horse, like just getting things going in a major way, right?
Yeah. We started planning for 2021 in about June with our American teams, a couple agents and our manager. So we're just picking it up and recording in January for a full-length album that will be released probably later that year or even 2023. But it's like a bigger project, and it's our first like big full length with like our label that we just signed with. It's gonna be great. We're really looking forward to it. And I mean, just everything. And kind of reaping the lemonade that was made during this horrible situation, but it did allow for some really good things to happen, at least like for those who took advantage in different ways.
Do you feel like there's a bit of an element of kind of making up for lost time now, just trying to get as much done as you can, because that whole period it wasn't lost? I mean, I know you had some live stream type things, and obviously you were still hustling to make the band exist and be a thing and be recognized by your listeners and stuff as still an ongoing project. But it's essentially like a year and a half at least that kind of plans have been shot, right? So is this kind of like, are you squirrely now? Like, are you ready to kind of get out and do as much as you can?
Glenn and I, our drummer, Glenn Radley, walk home from rehearsal every night, and half the time it's just us screaming about how we want to get back out on the road. Like yelling at the Osborne Bridge, being like, I just want to be on the road. We're getting pretty squirrely is a good word for it. Definitely antsy, but like when we started after this last lockdown over the winter, we kind of just told ourselves, like, let's just get back to it. We've been rehearsing 3 days a week, which is like,
that's a lot.
We've just been, and like one of those rehearsals is like a sectional where it's just like the rhythm section or the horn section. And we're running metronome, we're dialing in stuff, we're like fine, and just doing all these things because we're like we just lost a year and a half. Not lost, but it was I have such a love-hate relationship with what just happened, but
you were going, like, you guys had good momentum, and then just sort of suddenly kind of crapped all over that, right?
Oh yeah, it was really hard for a while, and and I mean, now that we're coming back out of it, I just think that cliche of like, you don't want to waste any time, you don't want to waste a single second, and sometimes I lay in bed awake at night having existential fucking thoughts of like, my God, like I've just lost quote unquote, because there were a lot of great things from the pandemic. Like I'd never been home with my son for this long and my family, and that was really lovely. But it's just about it's just about trying to get back on the horse. And I mean, it's been really hard, and it was super depressing at times, and it was super lovely at times. But we just kind of like talked as a band when we started getting going, it's like, let's do this, you know, like let's take it uber seriously. Let's make it a world-class band and let's rehearse. Let's get
Yeah.
way more serious. And people thought that we were driven, or that I'm driven or insane before. We're like, we're not even joking anymore. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, we just want to come out swinging and smash every stage and sell out every show and hustle. So
That's cool.
yeah,
What is the story behind the label? Because that happened during the pandemic, right?
yeah, actually, yeah. So kind of, so I think this is like November of 2020. We started taking our online presence a lot more seriously and like doing a lot of ad campaigns, but
Yeah.
not in like the sleazy, like, ooh, buy my stuff, without warming up the audience. We were
Not
kind
the
of
used
like,
car salesman way. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was more of like, we were kind of doing like artist discovery warm-up campaigns where we were just throwing out this video that we liked, and we're like, here's Apollo Suns, if you like XYZ bands,
Yeah.
you might like us. So we started seeing a lot of engagement, especially in the US. And then what's great is that we could then start a communication with all those people. And I got super, because I wasn't doing anything else. You know, I would message every new follower, and I still do, like a 30-second, like, thank you for following,
Oh yeah.
this, that, and like, and then collecting email addresses. And then people just were psyched, you know, like, you know, if a band that I really enjoyed sent me a message, I'd be like, yeah, I'll buy a shirt. Like,
Yeah,
damn,
yeah.
like sign me up. Like, you took the
Like,
time.
I
So
bought one and you didn't even message me.
yeah.
Right? No, I like that though. That personal touch is good because everyone seems
Yeah.
so connected now because of Instagram and all this shit, but people really aren't. Like there's still that wall between artist and band in a lot of cases. It seems like they're
Yeah.
being more sharing, but that's like the next step, which I think is probably obviously worked out for you.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen a huge, like, yeah, it's odd because, well, it's not odd. I always wanted to, sorry, I should finish up my point first.
Sure. Yeah.
um but yeah, so we started doing this very aggressive, like, marketing and fan outreach and
Yeah.
one-on-one. And then we just we were in touch. Like, I've been following this band called the Polyrhythmics out of Seattle, and they're on this label called Color Red.
Okay.
And it's I started following Color Red and commenting on all their stuff, and they started following us, and all of their bands. We were all just kind of like chatting, you know, like sending each
Yeah.
other messages or sharing each other's content. And then one day, I guess their marketing, Leah, their marketing manager at the label, was like, hey, you should send some songs in to to the label, and you know, like, you guys are dope. So yeah, we're always looking to work with good
Cool.
people and all this. So I sent them some music, some demos, and we just started a conversation, and conversation was about 10 months long, and in a process. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been great. We've been working on, with them on the last couple singles, and they're going to be releasing the new EP and moving forward. And they've got a great network globally. Like,
Sweet.
they have a France division and a Japan division. So and they're doing a lot of great things. The label the president who started the label is Eddie Roberts, and he was in the new Master Sounds. And they're like, I don't want to throw out the word legendary, like, UK soul,
Okay.
like, funk band, but they're like, they're really good. And they're playing, you know, like, it's just it's crazy. Like, members of, like, they're releasing albums with members of, like, Grammy award winning, and even this year they have 6 albums up for consideration at the
Oh wow.
Grammys.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, wow, like, we're in that company. That's really cool. That's really, like, something, to
What?
be in, like, in the same, at the table with
Yeah.
those people, you know.
And I guess it helps too with you obviously want to make a push into the US, right? So having
Oh yeah.
that kind of situation is going to for sure help you. It can't hurt, obviously, right?
No, it's been really nice. And I mean, it's already affording us some, like, really nice, like, potential opportunities to play some, like, really mind-blowing, you know, like, you know, when you're a kid and you start a band and you
Yeah.
have all these daydreams. And even now I have daydreams
Of
about
course.
stuff
Yeah.
that, you know, like all these things, and then those things start happening slowly, and it's like, oh wow, like that's actually happening.
Yeah.
That's weird. You know?
But I guess slowly is the operative word there, because you guys have put in the work, right? You put Apollo Sons has put in the time and the effort and the touring and all this hustle. So it's kind of nice to see that being rewarded.
Oh
Finally.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, you know, like yeah, we do good in Canada, but we still have a long way to go. Like people, you know, like there are some people that have called the band successful,
Hmm.
and to me it's reached a certain amount of success, but it's not like it it's like whenever we reach a new point or a new ladder, like up the ladder,
Yeah. A new
um
rung.
you know, yeah, people are, you know, certain like friends and family are like, oh, you must be really happy with this, and like, you know, and reflect, I'm like, oh, I'm already over it, like I just want
I'm
to
on to the
like
next
get
one.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like how do we get up, you know, we've done this, now how do we get to a support slot here, or this festival stage, or this or that, or this country.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean always making plans, but yeah,
Well,
yeah, it's been really good. I'm very thankful, very
that's awesome.
fortunate.
It's good. I'm glad you're coming out of this shitty period too, like with all these touring ideas, and you got a label and everything. It's like a very positive way to emerge from this. But I mean, I know you've obviously, as you just mentioned, and just as I've sort of seen over the years, you hustle hard for this. You're extremely dedicated to this project. How do
Hmm.
you get 10 people to have the same or comparable level of dedication, especially after what everyone's just gone through, where the idea of being a musician as a career to a lot of people probably seems like, oh, this is so fragile. This is something that can just, be
Yeah.
taken away in a second, like it happened, like for the past 2 years.
Yeah, I think, well, we had some lineup changes because
Okay.
some people went their separate ways. Others moved to go to school, and
Yeah.
so, you know, which is good. Like I support that, but also like for us in the band, it's like you're either on the bus or you're off the bus, so to speak. And you know, like the train is leaving here,
Yeah.
especially with going into the US. And we got a couple new members, and I had like long phone calls with them of like, this is what it is, this is how much money you're gonna make.
Yeah. That's the
And
bad news, right?
well, you know, you say, you know, yeah, but also like,
But the potential is
um
there.
yeah, like we are doing the math, and I'm like, oh man, like the average cost of like rent or mortgage, it's like with how much work that Apollo Sons is doing next year, I like we're almost paying people's rent.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is great, which is I mean, it's still super risky for me being the band leader, as I fund most things and all of
Yeah.
the debt is in my name. But you know, all of that kind of fades away when you really believe, and you have a really good band who's supportive, and all the members, like the core of us,
Yeah.
um are kind of like bought in, they're doing the work. And like, you know, and the new members, I just, you know, you're kind of selling them on the dream, like, you know, you went to school to be paid musician, and I'm offering you a paid position, you know,
Yeah.
and like, and you're going to travel the world, you're going to get fed, and we're gonna play some really beautiful places, you're gonna see some beautiful places. And like, what is, you know, it's not a forever thing. If you want it to be, it can be. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be doing this for a long time. And yeah, I I think it's easy to convince people to be in the band because of the proven track record,
Sure.
and how, I don't know, and how desperately obsessed I am with seeing the band do well and make
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting what you said a minute ago too. I just the idea of people who are going to school with the goal of becoming professional musicians, because I think that a band like yours obviously is not just going to pick up some musician off the street. For the most part, you have people who are very committed to the technical aspects of it
Hmm.
and having that kind of training and education anyway, right? So there's kind of that you already have a leg up in the sense that the people
Yeah.
who probably want to be in your band are the same people who have put in the work and the time and kind of realize what the situation is as a performing musician and what they're getting into.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. And like, you know, you gotta. Our stuff isn't insanely technical, but it is up
Compared
until
to a
we.
punk band or something, it's very technical.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean there's tons of minute details even in the form. Like oh god, with the new songs, oh my god, and like we internalizing them was I got my ass kicked. I got my
Yeah.
ass kicked by a couple of the songs, and now it's finally like it's confident, but it was like oh my god, oh my god.
What?
Yeah, I have to play this while jumping around on stage. Okay,
Right,
I
right.
can do this. I can do this. It's gonna be
What?
okay.
How much does the lineup changes? How much do those affect kind of the way that the songs go? Because I know you, like you said, you have a core group of members who are kind of like, you know, they're diehards with this, but you have
Mhm.
had changes, you know, throughout the history of the band. How much does that affect the actual songs themselves? Do you sort of tailor compositions to the strengths of some of these new members, like the existing ones, or are they sort of set in stone once they've already been written and recorded?
It kind of depends. It especially depends on the touring lineup.
Sure.
And now luckily we've kind of locked in this 9-piece 8-piece touring band for
Yeah.
next year, where it'll be like 4 horns, at least 3 horns, and then you know we just have rehearsals before the tour. I mean we rehearse all the time, but like just to figure out the configuration and the voicings in the horn, or
Yeah.
if at a certain point I need to play the high part in a melody instead of just like a rhythm part, I'll just do that. It's been really good. And it's like, well, and it's like you said, like everyone is educated
Yeah.
who plays in the band, so we're able to do that and like and rehearse and like improvise more. But I don't really write to people's strengths or weaknesses. I write songs or things that I think I'll like and then I
Right.
think other people will like. And it used to bother me when when a certain player who's a great soloist would leave the band or something like that, and I'd
Yeah.
be like, oh no, you know, this person. But like most people aren't coming for like a certain soloist, you know, like it's not like this group of people or this audience isn't coming for like the solo on such and such song.
They
You
want
know, that is a
the whole
part of
thing.
what we do. Yeah, like this band is not about like solos, it's about a lot of different things. And each player kind of brings their own little flavor and taste and tone, especially in horns. Like
Yeah.
every horn player has their own character, you know.
Yeah. Well, and that's going to
Yeah,
come through, I guess, regardless of who's playing, right? I mean, even if
yeah.
the band members switch, you still have that kind of individuality inside the bigger picture.
Yeah, totally.
Is it? I mean, obviously, I know when you're touring, you have this set group of people, but how what's the word I'm thinking of? How mutable is the band? Like, could you, if someone was sick suddenly, can you kind of, do you have a way to make up for that? Because I mean, it's such a large band that it seems like it might be more likely that you can, whether it's filling a spot with someone, a fill in, or like you said, you playing a different part on the guitar to sort of take over that area. Do you have sort of a backup plan, I guess, in case anyone is not able to make it, or if someone can't tour or things like that? The restructuring of the songs.
Yeah, like generally we've been really good. I mean, we've definitely gotten bad luck in that sense. Like
Yeah, I think
our
everyone would
bass
with that many
player,
people. Yeah,
yeah, like our bass player who was with us for a very short time, who just did some tours with us,
yeah,
Luna, had to go home because they're like the first day of a tour out east, had to fly home because their sibling was having some health issues.
oh, that
So
sucks.
Freddie, our bass player, or
Yeah,
who our trumpet player also plays bass,
right.
we taught him, he learned, and we jammed in a sound check before the second show at the venue, and we rehearsed for like 4 hours,
Oh wow.
kind of. So there are ways,
Yeah, yeah.
to
Well, and these are all professionals, right? These are all musicians who have the ability to probably
yeah,
deal with things on the fly.
yeah. And I was very proud of the band for dealing with that and being professional about it, and not like, oh god, everything sucks, and you know,
Yeah,
it's very easy
the
when
tour's
things go
ruined. We're going
wrong.
home. It's yeah.
Yeah, no, like we were like, no, we'll make this work. And I think that night we played Fredericton, New Brunswick, and I got like I was super wasted the night, and I crashed on a friend's couch downtown. And then in the morning, I went to the guitar shop,
Yeah.
or I went to Humpty's, which is like, or some sort of really, no, it was a Cora's.
Okay.
It was so gross. But I got like their $6 breakfast and like sobered up, and I'm like, okay, I need to figure something out. So I went to the guitar shop and bought like this bass boost pedal for my guitar
Okay.
rig.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, maybe. And then I practiced all of our songs with this pedal in this guitar shop in Fredericton at like 9 in the morning. And they were so nice about it. I told them the story, and they're like, yeah, if you want to work anything out here, just feel free
That's
and
cool.
try any pedal you want. So I bought a couple pedals just to like be like, if I have to like beef up my like bass tone a little bit on my guitar,
Yeah.
then we'll do that. You know, it's just about adapting, and that's where really like the growth comes from, you know, like in those situations, you know.
So sonically, how's it grown though? I mean, now that you have this, you've we're past the stupid annoying no one can see each other in person thing. You've been able to rehearse 3 times a week, like you're saying, and you have new material obviously that you're working on and looking to get out there soon. How has that sound changed, I guess, from the last EP to now? Because it's a few years in between there.
Yeah, well, this EP that we're dropping in November at the Park Theater, that stuff's been recorded for a couple of years. We were
Okay.
supposed to release it about a year and a half ago, but you know,
Yeah.
Something happened.
Something. Yeah. Who knows what happened? But yeah, it was something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The thing that shall not be named
Right. Right.
happened, and we didn't want to release it to like dead air. I mean, you can push it online, but now we have a couple tour dates in Saskatoon, Edmonton, and Golden. Just
Yeah.
a nice weekend to get our feet wet again and play some shows and go out on the road. So we just were like, okay, like let's release it. But the stuff we've been working on now that we're going to be recording in January with Ben Kaplan, who's a Juno award-winning
Yeah. Yeah.
producer.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, super great at No Fun with this great team. And now I feel like, not to sound like a ding dong, but I feel like, you know, when a band stops sounding like other bands as much, like you always hear that. You always hear their influences, but I
You
feel
can't
like
avoid it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like we've now more so like defined what Apollo Suns kind of sounds like after recording 3 EPs and
Yeah.
all the
So
stuff we've done, that we've
what is that?
refined it more.
What does that sound to you then? I mean, what does Apollo Sun sound like? I know what I think you sound like based on hearing your stuff, but I mean,
Okay,
as
what do
the
you think we sound like?
I think you sound like cosmic, psychedelic, instrumental,
Mm,
like fusion with other stuff. It's like
that's like too many words.
yeah, it's too many words. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And any industry person, oh god, and like
Space
we've
music.
had this.
Your space music. There
Yeah,
you go. Yeah.
We've had this talk so many times as a band. It's like, what are we?
Yeah.
And after a point, I was like, man, you know, we're just Apollo Suns. And I know that's like a cop out, but you know, like that's it's so many different things. And I used to get hung up on, like, when we would write a song, I'd be like, does this sound like Apollo Suns?
Right.
And Aaron especially, and Anatole were like, it sounds like Apollo Suns if we do it. And like,
Right.
let's not
Right.
get hung up on like, oh, if it's too much of this, because some of the new stuff is like super funky. Some of it is very like southern jazz based, like Nola. Some of
Okay.
it is like proggy, like we're going back to a little bit of the first EP with like the progginess a little bit. Some of it is like has some poppiness to it. Some has like electronic, like we're experimenting with more electronic stuff.
Cool.
With horns. Some of it is like really beautiful, lush, like orchestral, like we have strings on one of the new songs.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I've been getting way more into like guitar tones, not just like the fat dirty like Zappa tone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that'll still be on there.
Yeah.
It'll still be on there. That'll never go away. But just like really sculpting more like more of a concept, but not like a heavy-handed, but more like continuity.
Yeah.
So to me, I, you know, like whenever I think about it, I always just want it to sound like it's just like a day in the life, and like throughout that day you could have many different feelings and emotions and thoughts and experiences, and some of them are happier and silly or sad
Yeah.
or existential or big or heavy or whatever. Or and I feel like that's how I kind of feel about a lot of the new songs. It's like it's just taking all of our experiences as human beings and trying, oh god, it sounds so pretentious, but but that's, you know, like, in no, and you know, we're like trying to express through music, and with no vocals, like these are the
Yeah.
feelings. Like I want to hit people on that fundamental core level. And like, you know, because sometimes when I'm listening to a song and walking down the street down like in Wolseley and it's beautiful out, I feel so in touch with who I am as a human being,
Sure.
without any bullshit. And that song will just come on, and that ray of light will hit me, and I'll hear the whatever song, and I'll see just, and I'll feel so good and so like okay with everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I shoot for, and that we shoot for. Like, you know, some songs are just groovy fun things that are just meant to make you dance, and other ones are like, oh, this is really pretty, you know,
Yeah.
like yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question as to what we are, but I think
I mean, it does. I like the clever way of sidestepping the genre issue, because I know that's always been an issue for you guys too, right? Just trying to figure out what it is, because
oh yeah.
there is funk, there is psychedelia, there is jazz, there's fusion, there's prog. All those things are bits and pieces in what you're doing, and especially like, you know, the more experimenting you do, the more that kind of just mushes into a big thing that is, I guess, Apollo Thumbs. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I guess we could, I always like the idea of like, and I guess it goes into like why I love science fiction and fantasy and progressive music and fusion music and prog rock and all those concepts.
Yeah.
Because it's so expansive, and the world and those albums and those genres and those books and films and whatever and those video games just go through so many different like tones and situations and experiences. Like if our music could sound like Final Fantasy 7 made me feel as a 12-year-old,
Right.
and how that game touched me, and how Dune the book and the
Yeah.
series
Yeah.
made me feel, then I would, like, that's what I'm going for.
Cool.
You know, or like Denis Villeneuve's Arrival movie,
Right.
and how it's like, oh my god, it's so good. You know, like yeah.
I think that's a really good place to wrap it up. But before we do that,
Oh,
the good thing about this being a podcast, someone could hear it, you know, the week it comes out, or they could hear it a year from now, and hopefully by then you got new music out, you got more touring happening. So what's the best way to sort of follow you guys online and keep in touch with what's going on?
The best way is you can follow us on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're most commonly found on Instagram.
Okay.
We got YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. If you want to financially support us, you can go to our website and buy a shirt or a CD. We're launching a Patreon soon.
Cool.
Which will have exclusive like live streams, Q&As, merch discounts, pre-sales, all the good stuff. Yeah, and or you can join our email list, and we send out email blasts with like free demos, and we give behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, I don't know, social media is so unreliable. It's a great thing as like a tool that you don't take too seriously, and then you know, like, yeah. Yeah, go follow us on all the socials. We're very loud.
Yeah, for sure. And you do have a lot going on. It seems like at all times, even during that thing that showed up you named, when there were no shows happening, you were still very active. So I think it's a good way to keep in touch with what's going on with the band. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.